What's up guys, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about photography basics. We're going to cover depth of field, leading lines, rule of thirds. I'm going to give you a few of my go-to editing software and a mobile app that's going to turn your camera phone into a DSLR. Okay, not really, but it does some really great things, so be sure to check it out. Alright, first off, let's talk about rule of thirds. Rule of thirds is the idea that your image is cut up into 9 equal square parts. So you have a grid going this way, grid going this way, and this way. And basically, whenever you have a subject in an intersecting point or on one of the lines, it's supposed to create a better image, a more visually appealing image, which is true. Like, a lot of people think that centering people in the middle of the frame is best, and sometimes that works. We do that a lot, but it depends on the background. Now, if you center and frame people properly, then you can really use that to your advantage and break that rule of thirds rule. But you kind of got to know the rules before you can break them. So it's really good to stick and start by, paying attention to where you have things in your frame and how you do that and things like that. On both phones and on cameras, you can set the grid up to stay there all the time. I have that for my phone, not my camera, just because on my camera it's just a whole lot easier to do life without that. There's a whole lot of other information on there, but on your camera it's really easy and useful, and will help you remember as well to pay attention to that and just know kind of what you're doing in that regard. All right, next we're going to talk about leading lines, and this is basically like kind of what it is. Like, it's lines leading to the subject, lines leading off the frame into the frame, kind of stuff like that. Whenever you have someone look at your picture, you want to lead them through that picture. So, for example, if you have someone off to a third and looking off to their left, you're going to lead your viewer's eye to consider, like, okay, what are they looking at? Like, what are they thinking about? And, kind of things like that. I know we recently shot a really cool photo of someone, fishing, right? It was for a website header, and they're fishing, and the pole goes directly to the logo at the top right. And so that line just leads the viewer directly where they need to go. And it's really fun to play around with these lines. You can have leading lines on concrete, the way that, like I said, your subject works within the frame and all that cool stuff. So just pay attention to that and come up with some really cool, fun stuff. All right, next up is depth of field. Depth of field is basically the blurriness and sharpness kind of your photo in a super easy way to say it, right? So everyone sees a photograph and they see, the subject sharp and crisp, and the background is all furry. It's not furry, it's blurry. The background is all blurry and pushed out of focus, and it just looks really nice. It makes the subject pop right out of the background and they don't get lost. Whereas, when you have a shallow depth of field, that's when that takes place, whenever you're really close to a subject, or you have a really wide open aperture, like a 1.2, 1.8, something like that, and you just get that really beautiful blurriness around your subject and your background. And phones somewhat can do this too. It works better, if you have your phone and bring it closer to the subject, things get pushed out of focus. Also, iPhone Pluses have the portrait mode, and I think like Google Pixel has it too, or something like that. Now that you got the beautiful picture, right, you got you some depth of field, leading lines, and awesome rule of thirds. What do you do with it, right? A lot of people do not just post things straight out of camera, or even on phones, they don't always post, right from a camera. They like to edit them. So my go-to editing softwares are Lightroom, and I use that both on my phone and desktop, and it is, industry standard, really, in my opinion. I love it. It's really great. It works well with Photoshop and things like that, but on a more basic level, you can get it on your phone. They have everything really that you need to do to your picture. You can adjust the exposure, you can adjust the crop, you can adjust, pretty much everything. I also really like Aviary. It's on your phone. It's a super lightweight app, easy to use, fun to use, and like I said, my go-to outside of Lightroom. I mainly use Lightroom because here at 320 Studio, we've developed a preset that works, within Lightroom, and we slap that preset on and make a few adjustments here and there based on the photograph, and then we're good to post right to our social networks from our phone. Lastly, I'm going to tell you about the Moment app. It is an iPhone and Android app, I believe. It's pretty freaking cool. You can download it, and I think you pay $3 as an in-app purchase, and it basically unlocks all the features of your iPhone or Android camera. You can, adjust the focus, the exposure, which you can already do in your native app, but you can have a little bit more control over that. You can adjust the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed, all of these crazy things that the DSLR can do with the Moment app. You can do that with your phone as well. And Moment did not pay me to say these things. I currently don't even use Moment. I downloaded it and it's pretty cool, but to be honest with you, I have a DSLR and don't really want to pay the $3 because I'm cheap. But a buddy of mine has it and I played around with it and it's pretty sweet. They also make some lenses and stuff that's really cool and fun to play with. So check those out. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them, and just hit us up and we'll see you next time on Creative Corner.